Welcome to episode 440 of the Tilehurst podcast. Myself and Ross have a very special guest this week. There's no football to talk about as such, but we do have fresh on the board of directors, Mr. Rick Catania. Rick, all the way from the SCL, just a few short miles from my house. You're there after hours. It looks very, very atmospheric, as we can see behind you. How are you, sir? How are you?
I'm doing well. It's been a long day. I arrived at Heathrow this morning, so just straight into it, straight over to Bearwood, and ending my day here. I had dinner with Liam, and just really looking forward to sitting down with you guys
I think
to
it's
top off.
it's become part of tradition that if Americans are coming over to the club, we drag them out on the day that they traveled so that they don't get to go to bed at a good time. So appreciate you living up to that tradition, Rick.
It's only right. It's how you combat the jet lag, truly.
Yeah, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, it's great to have you on the pod. Obviously, we love talking to people from our football club anyway. But even more exciting because you're new in town, quite literally new in town. I know obviously you've been around for about a month and a bit. How does it feel to kind of physically be in Reading and getting ready for the firework extravaganza, let alone hopefully 3 points against Rotherham on Saturday?
Like us Yanks, we like fireworks. I think Rob has communicated that very well on many occasions. It's an exciting thing, and even if you're not a fan of the game, uh, you come out because that's a spectacle to enjoy. It's entertainment at its least. Hopefully, it's a celebration because we're all fans of this club. We want them to do well. We want to come home with 3 points on Saturday. And we want to top it off with just an incredible fireworks show.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's great to have you here. Before we get into the bones of it, we need to say thank you to ZTZ Films, who are sponsoring this pod and every pod we do, and also the Amazons for their lending, donation, whatever you call it, of their massive mega hit single, My Blood.
Yeah.
Massive fans of the Amazons on this pod. I'm sure you are as well, Rick. I'm sure they're on your playlist as you were traveling across the Atlantic today.
They absolutely are, and they've creeped their way into my gym playlist as well. I think, just that the rock vibes is it's there's energy there, it makes you feel good when you're trying to push yourself.
Yes, I agree with this. We use My Blood and we use Black Magic as songs to play when we're playing soccer for pickup too.
Perfect.
They're great stuff. Great
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, listen, we're going to get into it on episode 440 of the Tyler Sen podcast straight after this short break. Right, Rick. You mentioned when we were kind of backwards and forwards, coming on the pod that you listen to the pod. First question, really, we have to start with this. Who's your favorite out of me and Ross?
Listen, I'm a good fan of the banter.
Mm,
I think it takes two to tango, and I think that's what makes this a special thing.
Well,
that's
I will
it.
take your answer as me. Basically, that's
Oh, okay.
fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll both take that as a vote in our corner, or I'll take it as a vote for Ben, and Ben will take it for a vote for me, right, Ben? That's what you mean.
Exactly right. 1-1. We'll call that 1-1.
Yeah.
No, on a serious note, it's a good opportunity for you to introduce yourself to our listeners, to fans of not just this pod, hopefully, but of the club as well. Because I'm sure there'll be people listening to this for the first time because they want to hear from someone on the board of directors. So I guess really the first place to start is how did you get involved with our football club? And what have you made of things so far?
I think it's a matter of opportunity coming at the right moment. I think we're all very aware of the kind of state that the club was in last spring. And Rob was first to bat on that. I think, we all know that he'd been working on it for way longer than that. And it came to fruition, and shortly after that, I had the weirdest, most wonderful business meeting of my life, and it was the first time I met Rob.
Okay.
Uh, I flew to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, on a Saturday, kind of midday, just randomly. Rob came and picked me up in his car, and he drove me to his house. And we had some iced tea, sat on the porch, and just chatted. Truly, we just chatted for, a good hour. And this is something that I really appreciate about Rob is, he has a way of feeling people out from the beginning. And, once we got to kind of the end of that chat, he kind of put his hands on his knees and he's like, "All right, I think this is something where we can work together. I think this is a good match. I think we can go from here." So then we talked business and it just grew from there. And that was end of May, probably.
Mm.
Uh, the the owners and directors test kind of prolonged, when everyone heard about it, when you all heard about it. But this is something that had been in the works. I know it had been kind of hinted over the summer that there was new investment coming and stuff, and it just, it took as long as it needed to clear the right channels, and we got here eventually. So
Yeah.
it's been cool. I was at the Tottenham pre-season match over here.
Ah,
Great
okay.
atmosphere.
You're waiting
It's
in the
fun to
wings then.
yeah, it's fun to see the stadium full like that. I mean, obviously that
Hmm.
was a wonderful occasion. How many times do you get a preseason match where the stadium's that full?
Yeah.
Incredible, incredible.
Yeah. That was really, really great.
How did you get to know Rob to start with? Had you worked with him previously? Was he an acquaintance of yours? Like, how did that connection happen?
All right, believe it or not, I have absolutely nothing to do with Wickham.
All right.
Yeah,
Good.
you're the only one who does. I tell you, honestly.
That's
I
it's good to know that that's on your mind though, because we've heard they're like, well, we know where the clubs were before, and it's good to tick that one. But you know what? Making jokes at Wickham's expense. All right, you're in, Rick.
No, Wickham, fantastic club. I think Rob did a great job there. Um, I met Rob through an acquaintance of somebody that I was working with at the time. And we were kind of looking at the idea of investing into something like this, coming in as a minority role. For me, very good opportunity to see how someone does this from a really top
Hmm.
level operational perspective.
Yeah.
Uh, Rob was a fantastic fit because he's got a vision. He knows exactly what he wants to do, and he has the energy and willingness to execute it.
Yeah.
And that aligned really well with me. In that, additionally, given our kind of geographical context in the U.S., Louisiana, Texas, we kind of do things similarly.
Hmm.
So it's just a perfect mesh of things that it felt old right from the beginning. It felt like we'd known each other, and it grew from there. So very recent, but it's been fully in depth all the way through.
So you mentioned it's actually really interesting. So you mentioned sort of it's been something that you had been interested in investing in, and to spoil a little bit of the conversation later, I'm going to ask you a few questions about your experiences with soccer previously. But is investing in a soccer team, or wanting to have some stake in seeing how ownership with soccer teams works, is that something you've always been interested in?
100%. The the business stuff is important, but you always have something that you're passionate about. And I think if anyone's given the opportunity, which I'm very fortunate to be in the position that I am, uh, you got to go do what you want to do. You got to follow something that's important to you. And for me, that's football.
Yeah.
So that's 100% always been the goal, the dream. You go buy your copy of FIFA 2005 and you go light up career mode immediately and take, I don't know, just the bottom of the bottom League Two team to
Yep.
Champions League glory, you know. It's just it's a dream.
Now, FIFA 2005, that might have been the year that the 106 team was in for Reading. So that might have been our most famous team. So inadvertently, you may have named the best possible FIFA to play as a Reading fan.
Yeah, listen, I told you before we hopped on, nothing's without intention. No, I'm just kidding. Um, totally by accident. Happy mistake. No, I that's yeah, yeah. I think the history, you know, we're coming up on 20 years of that. I think, you know, it's important to recognize that
Mm.
we have been at very high highs. Like we've done
hmm
some things as a club. We have a long, long history, and it's worth celebrating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
I mean, I was going to say Ross did his research. He pulled all of your stats from FootMob, and basically you have an average percentage of 63 when you're on the ball. You're a hard pressing CDM. It says here, and this can't be right. You're an Arsenal fan, or we're an Arsenal fan. Is that true?
Yes, and I owe that greatly to my dad and my French roots.
Mm,
Um,
Okay.
came about the time, you know, Arsene Wenger, Pires, Vieira. I mean, it was just a all Thierry Henry. I mean, just an all-star cast of French footballers
Unreal.
up at the club.
yeah.
I have to say, and I say this a lot actually, but when Arsenal came, I think the first season we were in the Premier League, they they were the best team I've ever seen play live, and Henri as a player,
Gonna say,
probably
yeah.
probably the best player I've ever seen play live. He like our players couldn't get near him on the day. It was embarrassing. You know, there's like levels, and then there was Arsenal at that time. So, you know, we'll let that pass really. I
Sure.
mean, in terms of our club, we're obviously well down the pyramid in terms of where we want to be. Had you had any experience with the name of Reading, with the town of Reading before Rob kind of said, "Look, this is what I'm doing. Are you on board with it?" Like, had you kind of an understanding roughly of where you know, you talked about those high highs with Reading, you know, where we'd been and kind of where we are now. Had you kind of done any background research or had any previous knowledge before Rob said to you, you know, come and get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think especially in the decade of the 2000s, you know, the main way you could watch football in the US, it wasn't MLS, it wasn't anything else, it was the Premier League. You know, we
Mhm.
had Fox Soccer Channel back in the day. It's gone through its many, many iterations. Now we're somewhere else. Um, but you know, you wake up in the morning, which I really like in the US, is you can watch good football in the morning,
Yeah, I
and
like
then
that
go
too.
out and have your weekend. It's great, isn't it?
Oh, it's great. Yeah. I'll go to the coffee shop in the morning and I'll come home and the first thing I hear is crowd noise because my wife has either the Reading game or the Premier League game on, depending on the weekend.
That's a keeper, Ross.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
um yeah, you know, forgot where I was going with this. Yeah, Reading. So Premier League was on.
Yeah.
Um, Reading was in the Premier League, you
hmm
know, so I gained exposure through that, and then
Yeah.
just very serendipitously, my cousin, and I spoke about this when the press release kind of came out of me joining the board of directors. My cousin attended the University of Reading.
Nice.
She
Nice.
graduated from there, did very well. She met her husband there.
Nice.
Very frequent patrons of the Purple Turtle. They had their first date at the London Brasserie, and they got
I,
married.
I love that restaurant. I can't
It's
afford
very
to go there now, but I used to love it.
it's very good. It's really it's a quaint restaurant with very good food, um,
Hmm.
and it's, you know,
That's
it's
often what we
it's
go looking for when we're back home in the UK, my wife. A quaint restaurant, good food. That's the British experience with restaurants normally.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you know, we got the pleasure of being with them when they got married in September of this year, so brand new.
Hmm.
And
Congratulations to them.
yeah, absolutely. Congratulations. And they'll be here with me at the match on Saturday. We're
Nice.
here because it was my dad's birthday yesterday
Hmm.
and my uncle's her dad's birthday today.
Ah,
Clay and
nice.
Richardson.
Very serendipitous all the way through, basically. It's funny you mentioned that with the 2000s team, because oftentimes over here, if people have heard of Reading, even up in Portland, they've talked to myself, the nutty Reading fan around. Most of them are asking about Kevin Doyle, and even Noel Hunt, or players who were around in that previous era, who were in the 106 team or the 2012 championship winning team. It's definitely the era I get asked about most, by Americans coming to the sport.
Yeah, and I think Kevin Doyle is a interesting name to bring up with I don't know how much you follow on Twitter, but there's been some discourse recently.
Yes, yes, we saw some of the.
He was very cheeky. I
He
mean,
was
yeah,
cheeky.
congratulations to Ireland, by the way. If there's any Irish listeners, Mountain Mike listens. He's an Irishman. So congratulations for making the playoffs. But
You will
yeah,
note that,
he's
by the
special.
way, the guy here in the Wales shirt he's like, we're not going to talk about football this week. We're going to move straight on from it. Scotland
Yeah.
qualified, Ireland qualified, England
Listen, we did all right
qualified.
last night. We were good last night. Very. You should see the fourth goal, Ross. We were amazing.
Smashed it.
Honestly, unreal. Total
All
football.
right, all right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
I mean, that's really interesting from our point of view, because obviously we feel like for the last couple of years, basically since we took over the pod, that we've just been talking into the void. And you mentioned, I kind of dropped into the conversation just before we came on around Reading becoming a global, not name, but just kind of expanding the brand a little bit more. Obviously, from a footballing sense, we're every Reading fan would say we're not where we want to be right now. Both literally right now, but also in the league we are in this season. Have you been kind of surprised at the quality of facilities that we do have, and the quality of individual players that you've seen to kind of see us at the lower end of League One where we are now?
Yeah, I think it's a project. First and foremost, if you take it from you know, ground zero, day one was when Rob took charge of the club last spring, early summer. It's new, and there's a lot of things that need to be revised, rebuilt, and a foundation needs to be made to grow things on. We are where we are because of the past, and it's our job as custodians of this club to start there, build something, make it better, and get us back to where you and Ross and I think the entire fan base feels like we're club capable of achieving at, where we can be.
Hmm. So you got to before you spoke with us, you had a small appointment with Liam Richardson for dinner ahead of this chat. So obviously, some of the things we've seen from the way his team are playing so far have been pretty exciting. Tell us about like your experiences of Liam so far, and what you're excited about with him moving forward.
Yeah, so first off, happy birthday, Liam Richardson.
Yes.
It
Happy
is his
birthday.
birthday
Happy
today.
birthday. Yeah.
I caught up with him at Bearwood earlier today, and then he's staying at the hotel. I'm staying at the hotel, so like just come down. We'll have a pint, have some dinner, chat for a little bit, and that's what it is. Very very down to earth person, and in a coaching capacity, a managing capacity, he has a vision. He knows what he wants. He knows whether he has what it is to get there given the where we're at, and it's a really refreshing thing to be part of this rebuild and have him be on with it as well.
I mean, with your involvement, obviously, you said that you'd kind of been around since, May and the pre-season friendlies. Have you have you got involved in a lot of things behind the scenes with the club? Like, for example, did you get involved in the decision to remove Noel Hunt from his job previously and appoint Liam Richardson? Was that just Rob on his own? Was that Rob with Joe? Like, how did that work? Like, is that something that they go, Rick, we're going to make this decision? Are you on board with, or are you kind of kept out of those particular situations?
No, very, very involved. I think, something that is a strength of this ownership group is we're very connected. There's a lot of conversation that goes between me, Rob, Todd, all through Joe. Like I think we're all in this. We all want to see this club perform where we think, where fans think, where everyone thinks we should be. And we're willing to make those changes if necessary to get us to that point. So yeah, no, very, very involved in that. Um, and I think Rob alluded to this in an interview recently that, you know, person X, Y, and Z, we made our short list of potential candidates and we all had Liam Richardson number one. Um, Being here, talking with him, having dinner with him, it affirms that feeling for me. It's there's no change in that. I feel extremely confident with him behind the wheel. And Yeah, it's important that, obviously Rob is the chairman, Rob is the final say. But I think he's very willing to take input and listen and have those conversations when necessary.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting to hear about sort of, how the conversations happen and how it works. So on a more broad, like vague sense, can you tell us just a little bit about what it's like to be on the board of directors at a football club? Like, what does your week look like? What does your month look like? Obviously, you have a job, you have your own things going on as well. But what does like a week or a month on a football board in the 21st century look like?
Yeah, so obviously as a minority stakeholder, I'm not I'm not in the position Rob is as being the chairman.
Yep.
He's all in, hands on all the time, and I think it's important to have that in a chairman. I think you need to be present whether you're right here in the room or not. I think you need to have that kind of communication level, that dialogue with the people that are here all the time and correspond that way. Otherwise, you can't steer a ship without knowing what's going on.
Hmm.
And I think that's part of it. Being on the board is very interesting, and I fall victim to this because obviously I'm a huge fan of football in general. If I'm not completely in on doing something else work related at that moment,
Hmm.
I'm whipping up anything club related that I have going on, anything that we're talking about. I'm diving in, doing research, giving some notes, running into it. And it's easy to get really consumed, as a former player and someone that's just a huge fan of the sport and is just like, looking at players, doing all this kind of stuff. But like that's not my job. That's not what I'm here to do. We want to let the football people do the football stuff and support them however necessary.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's
but
good though that you have that football sense. Like if I had the choice between Rick as a volleyball fan and Rick as a football fan, I would go with you as a football fan, because I think that brings the right sense to the club.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, what it really looks like is just a bunch of conversations. I
Mhm.
think we mull ideas around together, and we kind of get to some sort of conclusion of that, and then that's what happens basically.
Yeah.
Um, Very collective. Um, but then of course it's Rob that is the face of this and will accept the criticism. I'm happy to accept criticism too, but being the well-spoken lawyer that he is, I think he handles it a lot better than maybe I would. So I'm happy that he's in that position.
I mean, you talked about the group there, and as an ownership group, have you found it more difficult than you thought you would at this stage? Because I think, when we had Rob on the pod, when it must have been in the weeks that he took over, wasn't it, Ross? He was quite
It was
early
in
on.
June. Yeah, right around
Yeah,
June.
and talked about the transfer window and was incredibly optimistic and kind of bubbly and and maybe kind of overshot himself a little bit in terms of kind of, not just on our pod, but just generally talking to the media, kind of statements he made. Do you feel like it's been, quite difficult as an ownership group to kind of repair or start to repair some of the damage caused by the previous group, or has it been kind of as you expected it to be, kind of sold as seen kind of thing?
Yeah, I think there's always surprises when when these kind of situations occur. And it's just a matter of accepting that that's the reality of the situation, and you got to take that in stride. I think, either you don't react to it at all, and that's a problem in and of itself, or you're reactionary to it, or let it bother you, get you down, and then you trudge along, you don't make much progress, and you don't go anywhere. It's important that, whatever's come up, whatever's come along, and whatever we're still dealing with now is, you know, it's what it is. And the only thing that we can do is change it from now on. And that's the kind of perspective that you've got to adopt.
Hmm. So there's this obviously there's this desire from the club to turn the club into more of a global, not maybe isn't the right
A
word. Maybe
global
it is the right word.
juggernaut.
A
I
global
think it's been
juggernaut.
described. Yeah, there you
Some,
go. That's my phrase. You
yeah.
can trademark that.
But I just kind of wondered, do you think, obviously, you're based in the US as I am, what kind of opportunities out here, do you kind of see for Reading to make inroads, in the US or elsewhere, internationally?
I think there's a phenomenal opportunity to do so. I think what's important for us, and something that we're trying to achieve at this club, is to be different. I think we want to be differentiators in however we do it. It's not going to
Mm.
be, you know, hiring a celebrity and going and doing a TV show, because that's been done. We've seen it. They've done it extremely well. They've done it really, really, really well. And it's been a great success, but you don't want to be the second person that does anything.
Yeah.
Uh, and so we're exploring a bunch of different ways that we can do that, gain some sort of international recognition, uh, on various levels, and we want to be the first people to do it the way that we're doing it. We want to do things the Reading way.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I like that. I like that. We don't want to do it in the exact way that a certain other TV show has done it for sure. Speaking of football TV shows, though, and films and things like that, do you have a favorite football show, film, anything like that?
Um, Shaolin Soccer, great film.
Yes.
Great film.
Excellent. Excellent
Loved
choice.
it. My dad showed it to me. Um, I don't know, probably 20 years ago, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Older movie, gotta love the goal movies.
Yes, yes, those goal movies are, yeah, legendary, legendary. I still use the there's that bit in goal where the coach is kicking the ball over Santiago's head over and over to say, look, the ball moves faster than you. And I
Yeah,
still do that with youth players to this day, because it
it's a
works.
valuable lesson. It's
Yeah,
a valuable lesson in football.
for sure, for sure. All right, good to know. Good
I
to know.
mean, they're really niche films that you boys have referenced there. I tell you. So, Shaolin Soccer and Goal as well. Mine have to be kicking and screaming with Will Ferrell. I think that's
Good
amazing.
one.
That film.
Good
Yeah.
Yeah,
one.
it's
Yeah,
when they're
Pastor the
howling at the
Italian.
moon. I think that's just so funny. Like it's just ridiculous. So yeah, on that bombshell, we're going to take a very short break on episode 440, and then we'll be back with Rick and Ross. It's got nice. Maybe you should take over me, Rick. Maybe you should buy me out of the pod, and
I could
you guys
never.
just
I could
crack
never
on with
bet.
it. Yeah, that'd be good. And we're going to come back with the questions that you our dear listeners have written into. So we're gonna take a very short break, and then we will be back with your questions. Welcome back to episode 440 of the Tilehurst podcast with myself, Ross Webber, and Mr. Rick Catania, who is joining us from the SCL as we speak right now, ready about 48 hours before the actual game on Saturday. So that's commitment. That is commitment. Still got the lights on the pitch as well. So there we go. He's warming it all up for us. It's been a very, very chilly couple of days here in Reading, I have to say. Rick, we've been inundated with questions. Quite frankly, there's been a lot of interest in you and your position, and you coming on the pod. Hopefully, we've boosted your ex followers a little bit with news of you coming on. Maybe we have, maybe we haven't. We're going to start with one of our contributors, actually, Peter, he basically covers the women's team for the Tilehurst End. He does a lot for the women's side of the club as well. He says, it is my understanding from Rob Cove's recent comments that the women's team will need new funding from an outside backer soon. What's your stance on supporting the women's team and making this an integral part of our club?
Yeah, very, very good question. Women's football is a massively growing thing that I think deserves the support of clubs. And I think the best way that it grows is as part of a club that has, a platform and stuff. Something that I'm extremely grateful for here at Reading is the community trust. I think they've really jumped on that and helped bring them back to life, back to doing well. We've got them performing. I believe they won 11-1 recently.
They did. Yeah, they did.
Just massive. I think that that is something, in the near term, we have a lot of, surprises that we're still dealing with, just generally speaking. And, I think we want to steady the ship before we really expand and build and take on more than we have the capacity to deal with at this current moment. And, once again, the community trust is doing a really fantastic job supporting the women's team. And, we're proud that they get to wear the badge on their jersey. We fully, support them in that regard. And just can't speak highly enough for the community trust on that.
Yeah. I mean, both organisations, both the women's team and the community trust have really been through the ringer under the previous ownership. Obviously they won't go through kind of old history, but it's not been good for either of them. So it's nice to hear that that you feel that they're an integral part of our club moving forward, and what they can provide, not just to fans of the club, but people in the community as well. That's obviously where they get the name from. So it's good to hear that, really. We touched a little bit upon this earlier, around, surprises and things. And I know there's a lot of stuff going on in the background. But Sam, 1871, after the year we were born, says, how much of a mess is there still to sort out from the ownership regime? And what plans are in place for growing home attendances?
Yeah, as far as kind of what's still ongoing, it's kind of something that legally we're not really to talk about at this current moment. But there are things going on in the background, surprises that we have, and stuff that we knew about. I mean, just all over it. And it's something that requires attention, and commitment to make things how we see them, how we would run a business. And it's stuff that I'm hoping that soon we'll really get to do a big debrief on. But I'll let Rob take that because he is our legal expert.
Yeah.
But growing in terms of growing home attendance, obviously winning football gets interest, it gets people back. We win every game at home, we're gonna have a really full stadium. People are gonna be excited, they're gonna be incensed to go. Some of the fans that we may have lost over the past few years will be coming back. And I think making the football the pillar is a very important thing for us. And it's fun to win games, and
yeah.
Additionally to that, it's an entertainment thing also, baseline foundations football, but we're also here to entertain the people that pay their hard-earned wages to come attend this on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And it's evidence of this weekend. I think we're on track for about 17,000,
It's big.
which I think our average attendance right now is in the 11 to 12 range.
Mm,
So we're massively excited to be doing this big fireworks display.
Yeah.
Um, and it's doing things that engage people, excite people, want them to come. They see it once, they want to come back. Their kids see it, they're like, wow, this is so cool. I want to go to a Reading game. I don't even know what football is, but like that was sweet, and
Yeah.
then it builds from there. You generate excitement, you get people wanting to go because it's not only a football game and a football team that, we want to do well, but it's exciting to be there on a Saturday. It's a good use of time. It's a good use of, you're not working, you go out with your family. It's a great thing to do.
Hmm.
mm. Have you been impressed with the fan base on the whole, given, I say what we've been through, but kind of all the circumstances around our club in recent years?
Yeah, I can't speak highly enough for the resilience that our fan base has shown. I think they've absolutely been put through the ringer for many years, really. And the willingness to be here, and I think this is something that's unique in sports, is that in especially English football, is this is your team, this is your team. You're going to support them. And I can't speak highly enough for our fan base for really putting that to work, showing that in action, that they are supporters of our club no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's so important, and it's a really exciting thing to be a part of.
We've spoken before, like recently on the pod, about how you can do everything, but the football comes first with a football club, and winning games, like you say, is fun. Scoring goals is fun, and so like that obviously like takes you a long, long way. So it's good to hear you kind of mention that. You also mentioned entertainment, which I like. So what is your, obviously you've got a good history with football. What's your like preferred style of play? Do you have one? Do you like to, when you boot up FIFA 2005, is there a way in which you're trying to get your team to play?
Yeah, high block, high pressure,
Nice.
chance generating,
Yep.
I as a player or in FIFA or whatever, I hate sitting off.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's important to choke it out up front, and this is where I love listening to stats people sometime, maybe people that aren't necessarily great at stats.
Mm.
Um, my
You talking
favorite
about me?
stat, no, not even, not even. My favorite thing that I've heard from I guess a novice stats person is that, and this is absolutely true. I mean, you can't deny this. If you have the ball closer to the opposing goal, you have a higher chance of scoring than if you're further away.
Yeah. Yeah. The conceit of XG, as it were.
Yeah, and obviously it's true, but that's why I like that style of play. You
Hmm.
win the ball back, you're already there. You're already up there. You have a
Yeah.
little bit less further to go. You have a better chance of getting into the box and maybe generating a shot. And like I think what, I said on Twitter when we announced Liam, like front foot football. That's what I like. That's what I think this club should deserves. I think there needs to be something exciting to get the folks in. Obviously, I hope that translates into wins, 3 points consistently, especially here at home. But yeah, I think we take it to other teams. We don't react to how they play. I think we need to impose ourselves on matches.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean that we said that, after the Stevenage win, that was definitely evident. I think we've said all the way through the season at times well, at great length, particularly at home, we've kind of stood off the opposition too much and kind of let them play around us. And obviously we were big fans of Noel as a person and as a person who'd contributed so much to the club. But we felt that particularly at home we could be a lot more aggressive in the style of play, and certainly within the first 4 or 5 minutes against Stevenage under Liam, it looked like those things have been addressed, and really we felt that that period of time, that first 10 minutes won us the game. Obviously we scored the only goal of the game there, but we were very, very positive. And it just goes to show you, doesn't it, how you can flip the narrative with players that you've got and the mentality and kind of moving them forward. If we think about where we are now in terms of the season and how much we've still got left to play, what are your realistic ambitions for the team on the pitch? And I guess, is Liam aware of those, basically?
Yeah, I think we're all very aligned, and I think given where we are in the season and how results have gone across the league, I still feel like this is a very wide open league. I don't know what it is specifically right now. 8 points between first and 16th or something.
It's tight, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy to be a fourth or a third of the way through the season, and that's the kind of spread that we're dealing with. It's really anyone's thing, and I think if we hit a crest and we ride that wave of good energy, good wins, building on that every single weekend, every Tuesday, whenever we play, we have just as much a shot of being up and around that upper end of the table than just about anyone. But that's the case for many clubs, but I feel that way about this club, our club, because I'm in here and I'm seeing it.
Yeah. Well, we can blend in then the question from Jimmy, Ben's favorite handle, Criminal Record.
It's brilliant. I think it's amazing.
That's awesome.
He says, on a scale of 1 to 1871, how confident are you in our plan to push for the playoffs?
Yeah, like I just said, league's wide open. 1871,
Let's go.
Whether we get there or not, I can guarantee you we're pushing.
Yes, love it.
Mark goes on to say, actually, have you left a space in your diary for the playoff final next May?
I'll shamefully admit this, or, I've only been to Wembley for a music concert.
Who did you see?
Swift. It was
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift. I went with my wife. The agreement was, and I enjoy Taylor Swift's music. It's good. We listen to it in the car when we're driving around. Catchy stuff.
Yep.
But the agreement for that trip to London was I wanted to go watch an Arsenal match, and the Taylor Swift concert was going on as well. So we made a really good 5 or 6 days out of that.
Nice.
Perfect trip. We both got to do something really exciting for each of us. And it was great. I personally would love to go back to Wembley to watch our football team play a game.
Yeah. And if Taylor Swift was there, sorry, go ahead, Rick. I would say if Taylor Swift was there too, that would be okay, or it's fine.
Hey, why not? Maybe she could do the halftime show. You never know.
There you go.
Listen, we need a proper celebrity fan. I know you said you didn't want to have a TV show around a celebrity with a club, but we need a celebrity fan at least. And if she's on a world tour and she pops on a Reading shirt with Select Carleton, I don't think any Reading fan's going to complain, right?
Well, I don't know. You know how Twitter is for us. It's
it's a good point. People, there'll be something. We'll find something. All right. So once we've made our push, 1872 into the champion, Max Royals asks, what position will we finish in the championship next year?
Listen, I love this question. I saw it on Twitter because of the implication.
Yeah.
I'd love to see us back in the championship next year, and I'd love to see us, build on what would have been a great promotion run this year and push to be, challenging for stuff. I don't think you can jump to jump, but I think there's a very reasonable way that we can be a mid-table championship club, and I think that's kind of where things are headed. I think that's something that we can realistically achieve in a reasonable amount of time.
Have you? Obviously you've been to a couple of games, I guess, and obviously watched this through the help of Royals TV. I would assume. because you can watch that in America. Is there any players that have stood out to you particularly from our team so far, from the squad so far? And have you got a particular favorite in mind that you go, I love watching him play at the moment?
Yeah, given my background as a more defensive player, I have a special place in my heart for just gritty defenders. And I think we've got that in players like, Charlie Savage, Wing, Potty, Derek Williams. I think we have gritty defenders with us,
Mm.
that also offer things up the field as well. I tweet this all the time when Wing scores, Wing with the ping for the ding, Um,
Nice, nice.
I think, I love seeing great goals too. And so when the defensive player does that, in addition to taking care of business on defense, like perfect, perfect storm of great things. And since you brought it up, Royals TV and talking about international fan base, I think the number one thing that we're doing right now is accessibility to being able to watch Reading play.
Hmm.
And we are just now going to have the game this weekend versus Rotherham on our new Royals TV platform. Should be easier to sign up, log in, enjoy the experience, have less difficulties, problems, errors, whatever. Should be
Yeah,
really nice.
Awesome.
it's good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
looking
mean,
forward to checking that out this weekend. I'm
well,
looking forward to the next time Ben's on comms too, so we can all
oh,
remind
stop it.
him that we are,
I love that.
international
I love
fans.
that.
Yeah, we'll be there on the international stream.
Yeah, I think it's really positive to hear you say about all these little improvements that are going on in the background. And I think at times football fans are really impatient, right? They want results straight away. They want results off the pitch. They want everything to be perfect. And you've time and again mentioned that it's a project, really. Do you talk about the risk factor a little bit? Do you think there is anything stopping you and the ownership group from achieving what you want to achieve with this football club? Because it's not always going to be plain sailing. Have you kind of identified a level of things that you think that could happen and that could put us back, or this has happened and it's not quite worked out? Is there anything that you can think of at the moment that would prevent us from getting where you want the club to be?
Yeah, this is something that I think in conversations, amongst us, amongst people at the club is something that is important to get right. It's matching everything at the same level. Like, and Liam said this very eloquently today, and I'm gonna butcher it really bad, and I'm very sorry about that. Um, if the expectation for the club's here and what you're doing to be there is down here, it's never gonna work.
Mm.
Same thing the other way around. If you're overspending, dumping money into this, that, or the other, but your expectations here, it's never going to link up. You need to match where you're at. And I think that's really important to get right. Like if I think we can all agree that maybe this isn't where we should be in the football pyramid, let's say. As a club with the history that we have, I think we have a little loftier expectation than where we currently reside, and that's okay. But the thing is that we need to match where that expectation is with what we're willing to do, what everyone's willing to do, and everyone at the club plays a role in doing that. It's not just Rob, it's not just the ownership group, it's not the coach, the players. Like it takes the whole group, and that includes the fans. I think every little bit, like we need to match where we think we are, and we need to believe it, and we need to support it that way. And we really need to get that right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
yeah.
really good answer. It's refreshing to hear that. We've had communication blackout for so long, from the owners, and there's no way that any board of director would ever have come on this pod.
I was just going to say that, yeah, I
So,
think that's worth just making clear to our listeners real quick, and we should have done this at the top of the podcast. But Rick, who has given us his time really nicely, really gracefully here, reached out to us to do this, which just goes to show, that the club are trying to communicate now. So, Rick, we appreciate that. And you're right, it takes the whole club. Sometimes it takes a whole ranch. Now, are any of the animals at your ranch now named after Reading players? The stadium, anything like that? And if so, if not, do you have plans, I guess?
All right. So no, and here's why.
Okay.
We are a beef cattle ranch. Okay.
Mm, yeah.
So there's an end process implied in that
Yep.
that
Yep.
I think it would be very malign to, name our cows after players or something because, we know where it's going.
That's fair. That's fair.
I will say though, and this is something that is something really cool that my wife's doing. She's getting really involved with animal fosters in our community. We've been fostering a lot of animals. She's helping out with our foundation and how to get it better because it's a huge problem where we live.
Hmm.
Every dog that we foster gets a Reading collar and a Reading, what do y'all call it? Collar and leash. What's the
Yeah.
British equivalent of that? I call it
No, I
something
think that's
different.
right, Ben? A collar.
yeah, just we call it a lead.
Oh, yeah.
Lead.
Collar
Yeah.
and lead. Yeah.
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 Nice. Well, that's good.
And you know what? I'd like to say that it's massively successful. I think we have a 4 for 4 foster adoption rate right now, and they've all been adopted with a Reading collar.
Nice. Nice.
That's pretty decent. That's pretty decent. Listen, Rick, last one before we let you go off into the RG2 night. We winning on Saturday?
There's not a game that I think we can go into not feeling like, hey, you know what? We can win this game.
Yeah.
I think if we play the way that we can, I think we have every ingredient to get 3 points on Saturday, and I think that will be then capped off with a great fireworks display.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, listen, Rick, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you tonight. It really has. You've had a very, very long day. I'm sure this has been the highlight of possibly your month. Who knows? I don't know. But in all seriousnness, we are.
The cat stepped on Ben's
The cat's,
mic.
he's in. The cat's in. Yeah, there we go. We're really, really grateful for your time. We're really looking forward to Saturday to being in the stadium and seeing us win mainly, and then obviously these fireworks as well. Tickets are still available, but be quick. As Rick said, there's about 17,000 already booked in to see us take on the Millers. Ross, final words from you while I wrestle with this cat.
No, Rick, we very much appreciate you coming to our unprofessional joke of a podcast and just sharing because it's there's been a lot of things that we've talked about that you've kind of almost mirrored in this chat. I don't know if you've been doing it. You say everything's intentional, so that's great. I love that and just appreciate you.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, you guys. I'm happy I reached out, and it's great to talk to you guys, at least virtually face to face. So wonderful time, guys. I'm really impressed and appreciative with what you do with this podcast for the club, and up the ding.
Up the ding.
Exactly right. Yeah, Rick, thank you so much for your time. Hope you enjoy Saturday as we do with all the listeners as well. Ross, have a really good week, and we'll hopefully be talking about a win on the next pod, episode 441. This cat is honestly out of control. He's trying to steal the show.
Yeah, let's get out of here before that. Yeah,
let's get out of here before it all kicks off. Rick, have a lovely evening. Enjoy a pint. Say hello to Liam for us when you see him. He's always invited on the pod as well, by the way, Rick. Always invited. So pass on that as well. Pass on that.
I'll pass on the message.
You can't stop him. You can't stop
exactly him. Right. Listen, everybody, take care. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the football, and we will see you soon. Come on, you Oz.